Today we are going to look at unit number 5. It is lecture number 1. So, this unit is designing with FPGAs. Okay, design. So this is the topic that we need to discuss in this unit. Okay, let us discuss about what exactly meaning of this is. Okay, so far whatever we have seen so far, that means whenever we have an idea, that idea will be converted into that idea will be described, or the idea will be designed of logical gates. Okay, so the idea behind this one is basic idea or basic concept, I can call it as basic concept. So far we have seen the basic concept is whenever we have an idea, okay, related to any application or any circuitry it is, so that is designed or that is described with the help of HDLs, right? That is described with the help of HDLs. Since the designing of the circuits as the complexity increases, very difficult to design the circuits. Therefore, by using the HDLs, it is possible to implement your circuits in a best fashion or better manner when compared to the conventional approach. So here what we have seen that with the help of HDLs, we are implementing we are designing our circuits. In that particular process, what we have done, we have simulated this one. Okay, so we have simulated our design. That means verified our design. And once it is simulated, then we have gone for, of course, it's better to write it in this way. Whatever the HDL code is there, that HDL code we have given it to the simulation tool. Simulation tool. So therefore, whatever the description is there, the description is verified. That means that whatever the idea we have, that idea is verified with the help of simulation tool. And once it is simulated, it is generated some kind of hardware by using the synthesis tool. Synthesis. Okay. So therefore, with the help of synthesis, we have whatever the idea is there, that is created as a virtual circuitry. Okay. Now, whatever the synthesized code is there, the synthesized diagram is there, or synthesized code is there, that must be implemented in the real world, so that that particular device can be designed for the purpose of your application. Okay, so what does it mean? So as I mentioned the previously, whatever the HDL code is we are writing here, that will be converted into netlist of gates, gate netlist, I can call it as. So it is converting the gate netlist. So gate netlist, or for the humans can understand based on the virtual hardware. Okay, the hardware also it will be developed. So virtual hardware this is actually. Okay, so whatever it may be a gate level list, we can call it as, it may be hardware, we can call it as. That information must be realized or implemented with the help of a real basic gates, by using real basic gates. Or otherwise, I can say that people are using different approaches in order to design this one or in order to implement this one. That is for PLDs, programmable logic devices, that normally people will use. Generally, for example, if a 2x1 multiplexer is there, if you want to design a 2x1 multiplexer, of course, we can develop the mathematical equation. From the mathematical equation to a logical gates, just go to the lab and take the components and provide the necessary connection among them, and it will be act as your 2x1 multiplexer. If the complexity of the circuit is increases, for example 32x1 multiplexer, for example, it's very difficult to do that one. Therefore, what we have to do is that with the help of PLDs, programmable logic device, I'm able to implement that one instead of individual basic gates, right? So therefore, now the complexity is not a matter if you're using the programmable logic devices. Okay, so therefore the programmable logic devices are used, okay, in order to implement or in order to realize your idea actually. Okay, so therefore just we have to dump your gate level circuitry, sorry, gate level netlist into this PLD. The real chips are available. You have to implement that gate level netlist into that particular chip, and the chip will be act according to your functionality. Okay, so therefore the PLD is actually a real hardware. It is actually is a real hardware. Okay, so the PLDs will take into will take the responsibility of showing your idea as a real world output, right? Now the question is that, yeah. So now the PLDs, let us consider the PLDs. Okay, PLDs. So PLD stands for programmable logic devices. Programmable logic devices. So in the digital electronic course, we might have studied about different PLDs that are available. One is nothing but PLA. Next one is called PAL. Next one is called CPLDs. The final and foremost one is called FPGAs or FPGAs. Okay, these are the different PLDs that are available in the real world. Okay, so therefore no need to actually these are all the ICs only. Okay, so please remember that these are all these are integrated circuits, ICs. So the ICs that are available with you. So therefore we have to dump your gate level netlist that is generated from the synthesis. So here we don't forget to write this one. So after the synthesizing is completed, that means what do you mean by synthesis? Whatever your idea is that is actually translated into associated PLD technology. Okay, so therefore it will be converting the actual design, it is converting the actual idea into a realizable code or realizable hardware on a particular PLD. Okay, so for example, if you have a PLA is available with you, okay, the synthesis tool will develop the hardware related to the PLA. So therefore, it will generate the information that is related to the PLA hardware, PLA. For example, if we have a PAL is available with you, then the synthesis tool will develop the hardware related to the PAL. Okay, that information is sufficient, and we have to dump that information in the PLA so that that PLA will act according to your functionality. All right, so that's what we do normally. So therefore these are all ICs as we have mentioned. So which PLD that I have to consider? Okay, so that decision is completely based on the complexity of the circuit. Okay, so which, which is best is decided by which is best. Okay, the decision is based on, it is based on complexity of the circuit, complexity of the circuit. Okay, so whatever the complexity of the digital design is there, depending upon that one we choose that one. But most popularly people are using FPGAs nowadays because a large function can be implemented by FPGAs. Okay, so therefore FPGA is the choice of discussion now. Therefore we focus mainly on FPGA. FPGA in this today's class. What is an FPGA? It is actually a field programmable field programmable gate arrays. Okay, it is a field programmable gate arrays. So actually in the PLA, PAL or CPLD, what the basic idea is that, especially let us consider the PLA. So it consisting of the end plane and OR plane. You might have understand what I am discussing about it. Okay, there will be a end plane is there, OR plane is there. We have to provide the necessary connection among that one so that it will be acting accordingly. Therefore, the basic gates are involved in this one, either the AND gate and OR gate, or it may be a NAND gate or NOR gate. So the same thing is applicable for the PAL also. But in case of the CPLD, it is the mixing, it is a collection of the PLA or PAL. Okay, that means more number of functionalities that is implemented by the CPLD compared to the PLA and PAL. Whereas, but the FPGA is different compared to the CPLDs. Okay, here instead of the basic gate, RAM shells that are used in order to develop the FPGAs. Okay, RAM shells are used. That means a programmable memory elements are used to construct FPGAs. How it look like? Okay, so for example, how an FPGA is look like? Let us. I'll show you the diagram for that one, so that it will be useful. Okay, for example, an FPGA is something like this. So it's copy and then paste here. Okay, so the FPGA is essentially something like this. Okay, so don't forget about that. Then suppose I will write the PLA and PL also. So that means there will be AND plane, AND gate, array of AND gates will be there, and array of OR gates will be there. Okay, so whether these are all AND gate and OR gates are programmable or not, that's depending upon the type of the PLD that you are considering. Okay, so generally this is basic AND gates and OR gates will be there. This is the general structure for the PAL or PLA or CPLDs. The structure is something like this. Whereas the CPLD is something like FPGAs are something like this. Okay, so it has got CLBs. Okay, so configurable logic blocks. This is the one configurable logic block. This is another configurable logic block. This is another configurable. So like this array of configurable logic blocks will be there, and there is each and every array block. There will be an input output blocks are also available. Okay, so input and output blocks are also available throughout the chip. And of course, there is a routing connections are also available in this phase. These are all the routing networks. So what all this each and everything we will see later point of time. Just we want to say that how the FPGAs look like. Okay, so FPGAs look like something like this. Okay, so what is there in this one? Then FPGA consisting of CLBs, configurable logic block. The second one is input output buffers. Okay, the third one is connection matrix connections. These are all the things we normally look at this one. Okay, so let us look at exclusively for the CLB, one particular CLB. Let us consider how the CLBs look like. Okay, so the first one is CLB, which stands for configurable logic block. Okay, this is the fundamental block that is used to realize a functionality. This is the fundamental block which is used to implement the functionality. Okay, so what is the logic diagram that is there in this particular configurable logic block? Okay, so the basic component in CLB. So actually, essentially it consisting of lookup table, LUT. Okay, so it consisting of lookup table, or I can say that the components, lookup tables and flip-flops. Generally, the flip-flops are also available, and the multiplexers are also available. Muxes are also available. But most importantly, you need to remember that the lookup table is the most important element or a component in order to implement logic functions in FPGAs. Okay, so I can simply say that the heart of the FPGA is actually CLB. The heart of the CLB is a lookup table. Okay, without lookup table, it's not possible to construct the CLB. Without CLB, it is not possible to understand about the FPGAs. I think in fact, it's not possible to implement the circuits in FPGA without using the CLBs, right? So let us understand what exactly meaning of lookup table. Okay, let us understand about lookup table. LUT, lookup table. So the lookup table is actually a kind of memory organization, okay, which consisting of RAM shells, which consisting of RAM shells. Okay, static RAM actually. It is consisting of static RAM. So how it look like? Let me show you in this way. For example, something like this it is happening. For example, two variable function is required. For example, two variables are there. For example, I want to consider two variable a, b, and one output is there. A, b, and y is my output. So for example, my output is equal to a and b, for example. Okay. So therefore, a and b are my input signals, and y is my output signal. So if it is 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, I say that the output will be 0, 0, 0, 1. Okay, so therefore this lookup table is actually having, it's a memory field. Actually this is the one memory field, second memory field, third memory field. Okay, this is simply a static RAM. Actually this is the one memory. Okay, this is another memory. So this is another memory, this is another memory. So what are all these things we can call it as? I can simply say that these are all memories. So it is a SRAM, actually, static RAMs that we normally use. Each and every blocks is actually considered as a RAM. So this RAM will occupy the output of the logic. Okay, so it can store the output of these values. What it is there in this one, the 0 will be there, 0 will be there, 0 will be there, and 1 will be there. Of course, it doesn't mean that all the things are available. It can associate it with logic 0 or the 1. Okay, I'll write it in this way. Instead of saying that only one bit is available like that, I can say that the 0 or 1 may be stored here, 0, 1 or 1 may be stored here, 0 or 1 or 0, 1, 1, 0 or 1. So whether it should be 0, whether it should be 1, that must be stored depending upon the programming of this one. That means if you have an SRAM shell, we have to program that SRAM shell so that the content will be finalized. For example, I want to program the first shell with logic 0. Therefore, I have to program this one with the logic 0 only. Okay, so I need to program this one as a logic 0. That means it will store the logic 0. The second one I need to program by erasing all the content of this one. I want to program is I want to keep the value of this one is equal to 0 again. Okay, I want to program the third shell just by removing the content of this one. I want to occupy this one. I want to place the content of this one is equal to 0. I want to program the fourth shell with respect to the logic 1. With the logic 1. So that's how I have to program my RAM shells for the output of the function. That's what it says that. Okay, so now whether this output will go as an output or not depending upon the multiplexers that is available. So what I have to do is that I have to consider the 2x1 multiplexer, something like this. So I have a 2x1 multiplexer is the one, another 2x1 multiplexer, another 2x1 multiplexer. Okay, so therefore these are connected something like this. So these are connected something like this, and these are, I think better to, I need to consider a different color. Okay, so this is connected here, this is also connected here, this is connected here, this is connected here. So these two things are connected here, and these are also connected here, so that it will produce an output. So what is my output here? What is the variables here? I need to consider the variables at this point. Okay, I need to consider the variables at this point. Therefore these are the things. So for example, this is the A and this is called B, for example. Okay, this is my output Y. So all together, I can say that all together, I'm calling it as a lookup table. All together, I'm going to call it as a lookup table. Lookup table. Okay, so therefore, generally this is called as, according to the given information, this is called two input lookup table. What we can call it as two input lookup table. LUT, or I can simply, people will call it as LUT2. LUT2. So lookup table 2. What does it mean? Two input lookup table. Generally, people will call it as LUT2, LUT4, LUT2, 3. Something like this, people will normally call it as. Clear? So the for lookup table means something like this. So something like this, whatever the big functionality it is, whatever it may be the big functionality it is, the lookup table is constructed something like this. Okay, the lookup table consisting of essentially the SRAM shells with associated multiplexers. Okay, so therefore this lookup table is very important for the construction of a combinational logic block. Okay, so let us consider a simple lookup table, so configurable logic block for a different FPGA. Actually, depending upon the size of the CLB or depending upon the type of the CLB, the FPGAs are classified. Okay, so many people have invented so many FPGAs. Okay, so therefore their differences between those FPGAs are based on what is the capability of the CLB they are constructing in their FPGA. So if the FPGA, the CLB is decided, how much functionality, what is the efficiency, all this information is based on the type of the CLB they have used in that one. Okay, so let us consider one simple CLB with that one. Okay, so let us consider a simple CLB. Simple CLB. So I will show you that CLB something like this. So the simple CLB I'll show you in this way. Copy and then paste here. See, this is the one of the CLB normally we used in different FPGAs, one particular FPGA. What you can see, observe here, what are the essential components that we can see? We have one lookup table. Okay, so two lookup tables we have. The lookup table 1, this is the lookup table 1, and this is called lookup table 2. So associated with some other flip-flops are also there, the flip-flop 1 and flip-flop 1, this is flip-flop 2. But the multiplexers also will be there, but they didn't show the multiplexer for this one. Okay, but for the basic CLB, they don't want to consider for the multiplexers, they want to look at in this way only. Okay, so therefore they considered this is a CLB, what we can call it as configurable logic block. This is a configurable logic block. Okay, so therefore what is the LUT4 stands for? What is the LUT4 stands for? It is a 4-input lookup table. Okay, so it consisting of 4-input lookup table. Here also we have to consider 4-input lookup table. Okay, so therefore what do you mean by the 4-input lookup table? What is the size of the data that we can identify? What is the size of the RAM that we can consider? What is the size of the RAM? Anybody can guess? Anybody? From the class, anybody?
What
What is the size? So for the 4 input as yeah, 8 not. Any guess? Any other guess? See, for the 2x1 multiplexer, what is the outputs that we have? 2x1, sorry, not 2x1. For the 2-input variable, for a 2-input variable, 2-input variable, what is the size of the RAM? SRAM. We have seen so far. What is the how much value for the 2-input variable? How many are there? 4 we have. That means what is the size of this one? 4-bit RAM, right? say 4-bit RAM. For example, if I have considered the 3 variables, so 3 variables, how many 3 variables? What is the size of the output? That means there will be a 2 power 3 combinations are there. For each and every combination, one output is there. Therefore, 8 outputs that will have. For each and every output, one memory shell is required. Therefore, how many memory shells are required here now? 8 SRAM shells are required, right? So similarly, if I'm having the 4 variables, for example, 4 variables. So what is the size of the
16 variables? 16 output and 16
16 outputs will be there, and we can say that 16 SRAM shells are required. 16 SRAM shells are required. Therefore, I'm considering here is that if I have a 4 variable function here, okay. So what is the what is the size of this one? So therefore 16 SRAM shells are required. 16 SRAM shells are required. Therefore, what is the internal structure of the 4 input lookup table? I will show you now. Okay. So I'll show you that one also, so that it will be better to understand the point. It is something like this. I want to copy this one, copy. Copy and paste it here. So something like this. For each and every lookup table, it shows something like this. Okay. So here you can see. Okay. Okay, here you observe that how many RAM shells are there? This is the one RAM shell, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 cells are required for each and every combinational lookup table. 4 input lookup table is something like this. Okay, it will produce only one output, right? It produces only one output. It will take the 3 input signals, 1, 2, 3, 4 input signals. It produces only one output signal. So how it will produce only one output signal? That's depending upon the mux logic observed here. Therefore, it's a mux logic that can support to produce only one output out of the 8 possibilities. Okay, so what is our responsibility in this one? We have to program. So as a designer, I have to program the SRAM shells. Okay, so how do I program my SRAM shell? Depending upon what kind of output that I want to produce. Okay, so in this first RAM shell, I want to produce 0. The second 0, third 0, fourth is 1. So the fifth is 0. Next one, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, something like this. Whatever the truth table that I have, so that output, this output must be programmed into the SRAM shell. That is what our requirement. That is what we have to do as a designer, as a programmer, that we have to do it here. Okay, so the programming is not much what content should be there in the RAM shells. That's what is the programming. Okay, here in the point of FPGA. Okay, then the user will, so whenever we have programmed something like this, we have to give it to the user. User will decide its inputs. So for example, if you want to say that 0, 1, 0, 0, something like this, he has given. What output that it will be generated? Okay, so this is for 0, 0 output. Okay, this is for 0, 0, 0, 1 output. This is 0, 0, 1, 1, 0 is output. Something like this it will produce. It is for the 1, 1, 1, 1 output related. Okay, so therefore somewhere else it will be, where it will be the output will be generated. I think this is 0, 0, 1, 1.
Both the ones.
Yeah, it is 0, 1, 0, 0. Yeah, this is the one, fourth one, right? Not the fifth one, I think so. So this will be generated as an output for this one, right? This will be generated as an output. So please remember that point. Okay, so depending upon the user, whatever the data the user has given, according to this input, the particular output will be generated. So which output is decided by this one, by the user, because we have programmed the RAM shells accordingly. Okay, so this is what the logic behind the FPGAs, right? So therefore, what is the 4 input lookup table I have shown you here? Apart from the 4 input lookup table, or in addition to the 4 input lookup table, there will be associated memories also will be available. Okay, so for the implementation of the sequential blocks, the memory is also involved in this one. Okay, so with the help of this memory elements and with the help of the lookup tables, any function can be implemented. Any function can be implemented. Clear? So let us consider, let us example. So I think better to write it is a 4 input lookup table. So LUT4, LUT4. This is what I'm talking about here. Now let us implement some function by using an FPGA. Okay, implementation of some logic functions, using FPGA. Right. So okay, so for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to implement a 4x1 multiplexer. For example, 4x1 mux. Okay, so I want to implement this function by using the multiplexer 4x by using the lookup table. But the requirement is that this lookup table, this 4x1 multiplexer is comprised of, for example, 2x1 multiplexers. For example, it's a 2x1 multiplexer, 2x1 multiplexer, and 2x1 multiplexer, right? So I have, this is what the requirement is, that I have 4 blocks, 3 blocks are there, 2x1 is 4 blocks are there. Sorry, 3 2x1 multiplexer blocks are available. So I want to implement this one in the given CLB block. Okay, assume that we have a 4 input lookup table is available. Assuming that we have 4 input lookup tables are available, something like this. Okay, so better I have to consider it in this way only. First, I want to take that information. I want to copy this one, for example. Again, go back to this one. For example, this is what there in your hand. Suppose the multiple these CLBs are available with you. Okay, so this type of CLBs you have in your hand. This is the CLBs that you have. So one CLB consisting of two 4 input lookup tables and memory elements, something like this. Okay, so in order to implement 4x1 multiplexer by using the CLBs, how many CLBs that are required? The question is that if you want to implement 4x1 multiplexer, you have to use the CLBs. How many CLBs that you have to use? See, normally, whenever we want to implement, we cannot directly 4 input 4x1 multiplexer. We cannot do it here. Why? Because the 4x1 multiplexer consisting of how many inputs are there? How many inputs are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, and selection lines. 2 selection lines are there. S1 and S0, and 1 output is there. That means that, for example, I0, I1, I2, I3, 3 inputs are there. Sorry, 4 inputs are there, and another 2 inputs are also there. Out of 6 inputs are there. Okay, and Y also. So, for example, if you want to directly write I0 here, I1 here, I2 here, I3 here, okay, so it is not advisable to do that one. We are not able to provide the S0 and S1. Okay, so therefore, instead, there is a different way that I can do this one. What I can do is that, so one lookup table is meant for 2x1 multiplexer. Another one is meant for 2x1. The lookup table is meant for this one. Another lookup table is meant for another 2x1 mux. Right. So therefore, I need to consider 3 lookup tables are required of size 3. Okay, if LU2 3s are available, then I can use three lookup tables, LUTs, I can use it there. Okay. But the consideration is that I have only the 4 input lookup tables only. Okay. Therefore, don't worry about it. Okay, whatever it may be, our requirement is that the 4 input, our requirement is the 3 input lookup table is required, but 4 input is there. So it doesn't matter. We can use it there. But if it is less than, it's a problem. If it is higher, it does not have any problem. Therefore, what I can do is that I can write here is my SI naught. I can write here is my I1. I can write here is my S naught. Something else I can write. Right. Similarly, I can write here is for I2, here is I3, and here is S0. I don't want to consider about the S4. I don't want to consider for the S4. Of course, the 4, I don't want to use the inputs of this particular thing. This 4 is not, this 8 is not required for us. Okay. This 8, I don't want to use it. Whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. Okay. I want to use only for the first 8 combinations only related to I0, I1, and S. Okay. So therefore, that's what I can use it here. But fine, everything is fine. So here you can see that the output is connected through the multiplexer, it can go, or directly available as this information. So it can go directly through, it can go to the through the multiplexer, sorry, not multiplexer, a flip-flop, or it can go directly something like this. Okay, so therefore the information is available here. If I considered another CLB, if I considered another CLB2, this is for an example, this is CLB1. For example, this is CLB1. So I have to, so I know that there is a 4 input lookup table is there, another 4 input lookup table is there, memory shell is there, memory shell is there. Okay, I can connect this one here. Okay, so I connect this one is also here. And another input is the S0 I can consider, sorry, S1 I can consider. So I don't want to consider for S4, the X4 I don't want to use it here, and I don't want this here also. Just directly I can use it here, or maybe this one as my output. So how many CLBs that I'm using here? 2 CLBs I'm using here. 2 CLBs, but not fully utilized by the lookup table. Okay, for any design, whatever the inputs are there, those many number of logic blocks that you can use it. For example, if you're doing manually, we don't we consider only 3 lookup table information only, but the FPGA itself consisting of the 4 input lookup table, you have to utilize that one only. There is no doubt at all. Okay, but the biggest problem with this kind of approach is that the resource utilization is badly we are utilizing the resources. Okay, out of 16 combinations only, the 8 lookup tables, 8 RAM shells you are using, other 8 are vacant. Okay, therefore the power is consumed by that one also will take into consideration. Okay, but anyway, that is a different issue. But thing is that this is how we can implement our design. Okay, so therefore this is how the circuitry is available. The FPGA is programmed according to your requirement. Okay, so if the time permits me, then I will show you once the program is written, that is simulated and synthesized, how it will be dumped into an FPGA. So what are the different things are there that we will show you later point of time. Actually, if you want to implement, so what I'm doing here, I'm implementing something here. The logic function is implemented in this one. What I have to do is that in that case, I have to go for placing the component, mapping, translating, and dumping. So finally we have to dump this one. So this is what actually happening. So whatever the logic blocks are there, I have to place this logical information into the associated the lookup tables. That is called placing the component. Okay, so therefore input to input mapping. So now with input to input mapping. So the selection lines and selection lines, all these things are also will be mapped to the I0 to I0, I0 to I0, I1 to I1, S0 to S. For example, this sorry. So I0 to X to map this one, I1 to X to map this one is also mapping here. Therefore, the program less on the translation of this block diagram into the FPGA oriented, all these things also we can see. So it is very more clear when we program this, when we hands-on training on FPGA. Okay. So for the timing, just implementation is implementation of any logic function I have shown here in this method that we can do it here. Okay, clear? So therefore, for the simplicity, I'm going to show you in a systematic manner the same kind of information with the help of the available logic diagram. Okay, so for more clarity, I'm showing that one. Please wait. So copy and then paste here. So this is how we can do. Okay, the same thing only I am showing here. Nothing else there. See here, I have to use, oh my god, I have to use two lookup tables, right? So sorry, two CLBs. There was CLB1, this is CLB2. Okay, so therefore I0 will be connected here, I1 will be connected here, rest not. The output will be generated and connected to the one particular lookup table of that one. Similarly, I2, I3, S0, and connect this one to in this place. And I1 is connected here. So the finally we'll have one output. Okay. In this process, can I ask you how many number of usable SRAM shells are utilized? So number of SRAM shells available, out of which how many number of usable SRAM shells are there? Can anybody guess? So I'm using the two CLBs. Okay, according to this notation, how many SRAM shells are available? As we have seen in the previously, it has four input lookup table. That means 16 possible SRAM shells. This is 16. This is also 16. This is also 16. How many shells that we are using here now? Enta? 4 into 16 RAM shells, SRAM shells that we are using. Out of which how many are usable? Here we are using 8. Only we are using 8. Here also only 8 we are using. Here also 8 we are using. That means 3 into 8 only SRAM shells are usable. So other resources we are not using. Therefore, we are wasting the resources for the particular application. But it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. Is it clear to all of you? Shall we consider another example? So this is the the multiplexer 1. 4x1 mux, let us consider. So let us take another example. Example number 2, ring counter. I want to implement a ring counter, not a ring counter, shift register. In an FPGA. Okay, so how the FPGA is, how the ring counter will look like, let us consider. For example, ring counter is something like this, shift register. Sorry, I'm extremely sorry, shift register. So copy and then paste it here. So please bear with me for some time. I will just within 5 to 6 minutes I'll complete it. So this is a shift register. Okay, it is a 4-bit shift register. So what it is happening here, observe. So the D1 is connected. The shift means the value of this one is going here. So the second value is go to here. The third value is go to here. And again, feedback to the original one. So this is a shift register actually. Okay. So I want to implement this one in the FPGA. Okay. So everybody knows that the same kind of argument is applied here. We don't want to consider any kind of logical implementation. We focus mainly on the flip-flops only. Okay, how we can configure this FPGA so that it will be acting like that. Okay, so let us consider it in this way. Okay, this is how we can do. So this is how we can configure the logical blocks in this fashion. Okay, so what I have to do is that, So I want to consider for the x1. X1 is used for the D1. Okay, D1 I am connecting for this one, and only the output of this one is connected to the flip-flops. Through the flip-flops it has to go. It's not going just directly. Okay, so it has to go to this one, and the output of this one is connected to the input to the next lookup table. Okay, and these two lookup tables are completed. Output of this one is must go through the flip-flop and go to the next input of the lookup table and connect it to the flip-flop of this one, and same thing will be connected to this one, something like this. Now again, what is the question here is that we have to give the feedback from output to the input again, the same kind of this one. So therefore these connections are done with the connecting matrix X. Connections are required here. Okay, connection matrix that are used to provide the connection from one CLB to another CLB. So that connections are responsible. The responsibility is taken by this particular multiplexers. Sorry, this multiplex connection networks. Okay, so therefore somehow it will be connected to this one, and the output of this one is connected to one point. Something like this it will be connected. I will show you this point later point of time. For the time being, just uh, uh, granted that the free flow of connections are available in the circuitry. Okay. Okay. So just wait for another 2 to 3 minutes. With that, we can complete this one also. Another type of, okay, as I mentioned, one point I mentioned earlier. What is that? So different type of FPGAs, because so many FPGA vendors are there. For example, FPGAs are manufactured by, okay, Xilinx. Okay, some other companies are also there. Different companies are there. Various companies actually. We have a different companies are there. All those companies provide different kind of CLBs. Okay, so therefore one CLB is different from other CLB. Okay, so one such variant that I can use based on Spartan, based on Spartan 2. Okay, Spartan is a one version from the Xilinx point, from Xilinx only. Different versions the Xilinx has produced the FPGAs. One such version is a Spartan version. There they have used the FPGA with the help of a different CLB. So how the CLBs look like? So something like this it look like. Okay, so it allows you something like this. Copy and then paste here. So this is how the CLBs look like. Okay, what they have done here, you observe what they have done. So in addition to the lookup tables, so one is available previously, this is also available, this is also available, this is also available, but additional peripheral, additional information they have incorporated here. Okay, so as I mentioned that, so one FPGA version to another FPGA version, or one particular company to another particular FPGA company, they can modify the CLB for their requirement, for their specifications. Okay, here they have introduced the another lookup table of size is 3 input lookup table they have used here. Okay, in addition to that one, the programmable multiplexers also they have used here. This is the one multiplexer, 1, 2, 3, 4 multiplexer they have used. Okay, so therefore depending upon the requirement they have used this one. Okay, so therefore the information can go directly, so the information can go directly from here to here through the multiplexer, or it can go either in this fashion also. So this fashion also we can go directly in this way. Okay, or the information will go in this way also, something like this. So some different way that they have implemented this one. So shall we implement this? Let us use this CLB for implementing a 4x1 multiplexer. What is the best way that we can do it here? What is the best way? Okay, so as I mentioned that it's very simple to understand. Okay, it is very simple to realize this one. Okay, just programming something like this, configure or programming or configure this CLB something like this, so that it can be acting as 4x1 multiplexer. I can write this here. I can simply write I naught here, I1 here, S naught here. So it is generating, for example, some Y1 అనుకుంటున్నాను, for example, Y naught. Okay, here is for example I2, I3, it is S naught. So it is producing Y1. So these things are connected at this point. These things are connected at this point. C can be connected to, for example, S1, for example, so that it will be generated. The forecast one means easily can be applicable. It can be implemented something like this. So therefore, only one CLB that we have used instead of two CLBs. Okay, well, of course, additional hardware is involved in this one. But when compared to that two CLBs, we have to use only one CLB by additional information available at this point. Okay, therefore, resource utilization is very done very easily at this point. Okay, when compared to the earlier case. Okay, somehow we have reduced the number of SRAM shells for this one. Okay, so later point of your time, it will go either this one it can go, or this one it can go. So that's depending upon what kind of multiplexer information that we have with you. Okay, so therefore this is how we can implement certain logic functionalities. Not only this multiplexer, not only this ring counter, whatever the logic function that we have synthesized, that synthesized the synthesized hardware, the synthesized netlist will be dumped into an FPGA, especially in the CLBs. That means we have to program the SRAM shells. We have to program the necessary peripherals, necessary components that is available in FPGA, right? So some other useful, that means how can we utilize the resources efficiently, that we will see in the next class. Okay, in the next class we are focusing on actually by implementing something like this, resources are not utilized properly. So how can we utilize the resources properly so that the power consumption of the circuit and delay of the circuit will be reduces with the help of different methods. So one such method is Shannon expansion theorem. That theorem we will see in the next class. Okay, thank you very much. We will see the remaining things in the next class. So by the way, actually the Tuesday, do you have any class on Tuesday? Just wait, I want to stop the recording.